Couple seconds. And we are live. Hello and welcome to the Q&A of the RSI Galaxy. I'm here with my mentor, Void Walker Joe, and Nax Pack, one of the snowbirds. And we're going to go over the RSI Galaxy Q&A that just came out today. Um, this is a very controversial topic that has caused some drama lately within the community, but there are some very valid questions here, and it looks like um, it's very revealing of what the ship is going to be able to do and what it's not going to be able to do. So, uh, let us get into it, and here we go. The following concept release of the RSI Galaxy, we took your voted questions to our designers to provide you with more information on the recently unveiled modular ship. So, here we go. Question 1. If I don't have any modules, is the center of the ship just an empty room, or does the Galaxy come with a stock module? Further, is the void full or empty? And can I put stuff in there? Yeah. Okay. Joe, what do you think? I mean, we've already got the answer here, but what do you think?
Um, yeah, this is a very important question because we haven't really had any answers about modularity and how it's going to work, and kind of get a little glimpse into the functionality and what we might see when it comes to modularity. So I think this answer can be applied to anything else that has modules or supposed to get modules in the future. Um, so yeah, do you want me to read the answer?
Yeah, go ahead. Because I know that the Apollo, the triage, and I believe the I can't remember the name of the other Apollo, but um, those are dedicated medical ships, and they have options of modules that you can place tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 beds. This one, this module that is medical for the Galaxy has all three in the medical module, which is very beneficial
Yeah,
for
it
if
looks like
yeah
it
go
looks like the medical module didn't have. I think in the concept art it showed it doesn't have it labeled, but you could see that the med beds are different sizes.
mm-hmm.
And what it looks like, if they're going for something that makes sense in your head while looking at it, look like they have three tier threes, two tier twos, and one tier one bed.
Yeah, and I think that is a very valid feature because you can respawn on a tier
Tier two.
2. Yeah,
Yep. So
it
you would have
makes sense.
three beds to respawn at, and then you would have three that you can't.
Yeah. Okay. Nax, since you are a somewhat new player, what are your thoughts on this aspect of the Galaxy?
Well, with the modules, I think it's a interesting aspect to add to the game. It allows it allows you obviously it allows a lot of customization, but with the, but but I do think it should at least come with a very bad type of stock module you can use. so you can upgrade to actual good good modules, but it's just not an empty void that's sitting there in the ship.
Well, here, let me read the answer because that might help you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if he's read it yet, but let me read it. It says, if you have no module, the galaxy has an empty void area with a shell to keep the hull airtight, allowing you to traverse from the hangar to the rest of the ship. As it's simply an empty space, you could put stuff in there, but with a lack of cargo plates. It would be a subject it would be subject to all the normal risks of unsecured cargo. The
So,
Galaxy does not come with a stock module for two reasons. Firstly, we want players to pick their initial module rather than be saddled with whatever would have been the base plus the one they want. Secondly, these modules will take up physical space in an inventory like all components. Therefore, if every ship came with a module that players didn't necessarily want, it would unfairly penalize them.
Uh, I got
so
the pipeline with the first half, but the second half wasn't there.
okay. So to me, being a owner of a Galaxy, and I picked up the cargo module first, and then I will advance to a medical module uh, a little bit later. But for something that doesn't, for a stock ship that doesn't have anything, you only get 64 SCUs. So if you place anything that's inside that ship that's not secured, you have a risk of damage and your ship being destroyed.
Well, I would hope they get that fixed as far as like I don't know if it'd get destroyed. I feel like it might like slide around a little bit, but uh,
Well, with the mechanics, say they brought the Galaxy out in 317 and you had a vehicle in there, it would bounce around all over the place and you would have damage from the whatever is in there, and
Oh yeah,
eventually the ship would take so much damage it would bring it to zero in that area, and the rest of the ship would suffer.
well, my point is it shouldn't be moving around a lot. So if
True.
you have it landed with the landing gear, it I mean the landing gear in reality it would do a pretty good job of keeping it kind of in place. I mean, I could see it moving around maybe a little bit, like sliding just a tad. But with you have artificial gravity in the hangar, and assuming you have it turned on in the ship,
Yeah.
um, I mean, it should be planting that ship fairly decently onto the mm, into that void area.
True.
And I mean, right now ships bounce around a lot because of it's just not optimized
Mm-hmm.
and not really developed. So it really messes everything up. But I think in the future, when they do get it optimized and everything, and it's working as it should, I don't think it should be moving around too much. I think it'd be less ideal because, I mean, if you're trying to, I think your cargo would have a better chance of kind of moving around. Like if you
Yeah.
had extra cargo boxes and stuff, those might be sliding around. You might have to find a way to maybe put something in front of it or something,
Yeah.
that kind
yeah.
of thing. But uh, I don't know. I feel like a ship should be fine.
Well, okay. Prime example, if the landing gear is not down on a Pisces inside of a Carrack, it will shift, and eventually the ship
Mm-hmm.
will blow
Yeah.
up. Okay, and with this, I tried a Carrack late just recently with a a C8R inside the hangar, and I stored the ship, and I came back and picked up the ship, and I didn't have any problems. So I'm wondering if they fixed the stability. If you know what I mean, because there were times you had to go into the bay to reset the Pisces landing gear so the ship would be stable, and then go ahead and go about and do what you had to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if that's been worked on. I don't know.
Um,
I have to try it.
yeah, I mean, I'm only talking about further down in the future when we're probably going to get modularity. I would hope by then it'd be a long enough amount of time for them to get these kind of issues kind of settled out. But uh, yeah, it's one of those things. Along with probably most of what we're going to be talking about is just we're just going to have to see.
Yeah. Nax, any other thoughts on this question?
No, not really. No, I think Joe touched on everything that I was thinking about saying.
Okay, cool. Next question. Uh, what is involved with changing out the modules? For example, how long will it take? Where can it be done? And can we change modules on the fly, or do we have to transport all modules to one location first, like other ship components? This is an excellent question. I was hoping somebody would hit this because I didn't get a chance to get any questions into this, but this is a perfect question.
It's
Um,
another one of those questions that isn't just for the galaxy. It's for all future module ships.
module ships, yes. Okay, answer. Due to their size, the modules need to be swapped at a location capable of that type of work, such as Cousin Crow shops, which will require the ship to be there for a period of time. Exact timings are still to be determined, but due to the relevant ease of access, remove lower cap, then exchange module. This should not be a lengthy operation, providing all the required parts are at that location. So there's the answer that we were looking for when we did the podcast. You have
Yeah,
you have to go to a specific place where your the module can be
and you need to move
changed out.
all your modules
Yes, you
in
have to
one
move your
spot, which
modules.
again that sucks.
Yeah.
And but how would you? Here's the thing though that kind of here's another question that kind of gets raised up from this.
Okay.
How do you move?
A
Is
module.
there going to be an alternate way to be able to move the modules other than um, let's say because it's just not feasible to take a modular ship that's empty, go
Mm-hmm.
put a module in it somewhere, and then fly over to where you want to bring it, and then have them take the module out, fly all the way back, put in another module. Like, let's say if you have 4 or 5 modules that you need to move,
Mm-hmm.
you're not doing that. That's not a feasible way of doing it. So hopefully there will be some sort of option where you can, you know, get like a NPC crew to move, move it kind of, you know, in the background, passively while you're out doing stuff, where it's just it might cost you a little bit more.
Well,
Well, I don't really think that you're going to be moving the module in one piece because in the answer right there it does all the required parts, hinting at you might be able to take them apart in like 5 minutes C2 or something.
that's a possibility, but um, I
Wait, you
really
said
think,
all the required parts? What are you talking about?
yeah.
This should not be a lengthy operation, providing that all the required parts are at that location. The last
I
line
feel
of the
like
answer.
I feel like the parts. I I feel like that's kind of a misinterpretation.
Okay.
Um, I think what they mean by that is depending on the shop's capability. So if like I think different shops are gonna have different capabilities when it comes to modules, but that's just my take on it. So
Well,
This
go
this
ahead.
question is really up in the
or
air.
they're referring parts as the modules themselves, but yeah, it says should not be a lengthy operation providing all the required parts are at that location. Yeah, see that's something that it's one of those things that they say, but they don't.
Elaborate.
It's like yeah, they don't elaborate on it, and you can go off on a long tangent on what the required parts are at the location could mean. You know
Well, I think they're not elaborating on it because they might not know themselves as to what they're going to do yet.
that too. Yeah.
Yeah, but it does state, um, in the very first question that they're not sure, you know,
Yeah.
how long it's going to take. So, and what entails to get that module to that place. And this is where a support vehicle is going to come in to, because say, look at it like this: when you spawn and start a fresh character, your character's totally fresh. Everything you have is going to be on your base planet, you know? So, what? Are they going to do everything on your base planet, or are you going to have to move your modules to a place where this can be done? So you can have ease of access. I mean, that's just my thought.
I
Yeah,
think that
that's
I
another
think
one of
that
those questions we'll have to see.
yeah, like I was going to say the same thing. I think we have to just wait and see on this one.
'Cause this is another one that I don't know what to think about. Um, it some of these answers can be a little confusing just because we don't know and they might
That,
not know themselves. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's the thing. They're answering without answering.
yeah. Okay. We good to go to the next question?
mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
everybody? Okay. Can the galaxy's modules be dropped off planet side to create a temporary base of operations? And this totally makes sense. Of course not, because they require the power and the cooling from the ship, so they're
I
not
think
able to function. Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
I, I think what people are kind of hoping for, and I think it'd be kind of a cool thing, is
Yeah.
if you could take the take the modules, drop it off at like a planet's surface,
Mm-hmm.
and be able to rig it up with the same kind of power source that you would have for your outpost. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, as far as like pirates go, and people kind of, you know, living that kind of lifestyle where that you don't have a lot to work with. You're gonna have to work with what's around, in your surroundings based on where your location's at.
Mm-hmm.
Like for instance, like Ruin Station over in Pyro,
Yeah.
like they're everything is cobbled together and they're using what they have.
Yeah.
The power source that they're using for things might not be specifically for whatever they're using it for.
Yeah.
But but you know, I could see how people would think that maybe you can apply that same kind of thinking to like ships and modules and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be cool. But yeah, it kind of sucks to say no. But
Yeah.
it is what it is. Not a big deal.
But you know what? Look at it like this. And this is my survival thinking, that if that ship is grounded and it can't be moved, okay? And your power plants go out, okay? Your you're going to have to improvise to do whatever you need to do to keep that ship running until rescue comes, or at least some type you get have some type of power source to keep the ship running. So, um, say somebody does drop a module off, and they need that to sustain their life, to sustain their crew, or whatever. You're going to have to come up with alternative power sources somehow, some way. And that's further down the road, way further down the road, as far as I'm concerned. Um, but I agree with the answer because at this point, this is what we know. It says, in addition, they're installed with a covering cap to lock them in place, which would need to be removed first. So,
And that's only going to be done at those shops.
yes. So, this answer makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Nax,
Yeah, that makes sense.
your thoughts on it, Nax?
Oh, he's got his microphone muted.
Okay, he
Um,
stepped away.
yeah, I mean, I think if you wanted something like this, I think the closest thing you're going to get is probably, parking your ship on a planet and using that as like your outpost,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you're gonna but eventually in time, your batteries are gonna drain.
which you would hopefully, be able to have the resources to be able to go out and gather your own, you know, like if you had the refinery module, maybe you would be able to
Mm-hmm.
and then get in
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You would have to go out into space, have some people from your fleet go out into space and gather resources and
Yeah.
replenish your ship on the ground.
Okay. Um, I'm good to go to the next question.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, will there be any medical equipment in the non-modular section of the ship? And here, this is there is no onboard medical equipment such as a med bed outside of the medical module. Okay. Now we know this is not going to be an exploration ship. It is designed to do modular things and certain things. So you're not going to live on the ship. Basically is what they're saying.
Yeah, you're gonna be able to sleep there. You're gonna be able to spend a couple days there, maybe a week,
Mm-hmm.
however long you need,
Mm-hmm.
to a certain extent. But it's definitely like we talked about this earlier. It's definitely not gonna be your home.
Right.
It's not gonna be the main ship in your fleet. It's not gonna be where everybody lives. And
Right. I
yeah,
mean, okay, look at it like this. When the 600i rework comes, the 600i is going to be a dedicated exploration ship, that version of it. So you're going to have a med bay in it, you know? And that one you could actually go out and live for some time. This
hmm
ship is not designed for that, and I totally agree with what they're saying with it. It's a do the job, get in and out ship.
yeah, they don't want it to be that because from what we were saying earlier, if they had a med bed or two in there, even if it was like tier 3 or something like that, they wouldn't want it to be the ship that you pick over because the more they add that's like that,
Yeah,
it starts to become the perfect ship for people's fleets.
yeah,
And so you would end up picking that over other medical ships,
Mm-hmm.
at that point.
Yeah.
And that would be, the Galaxy would be the only ship anybody ever buys in certain situations because it's just ready for anything.
Yeah.
And you don't want it to be ready for anything. You want it to be ready for like one thing, and that's
The
what the modules are for.
the job that you're going to do. Yeah.
At least that's what CGI want or CIG wants.
Yeah.
But I think in the real world, when you look at like cars and everything else, that all the other transportation that we have, like um there are things that we have that we make that are good for almost everything, that
Mm-hmm.
that are perfect for in almost every situation, because that just makes our lives easier, and less options that we have, where if we actually have something that fills every role that we need perfectly, um, that makes our lives a whole lot easier. But in a
Yeah.
game, when they're trying to diversify ships, it doesn't make sense for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm happy with the answer. I'm
Yep,
happy with the answer on this
me
because
too.
the ship is not supposed to be a all arounder. It is supposed to be a specific ship with that module that you have, do the job, and go home. That's pretty much what it's supposed to be. Or go to the base that you've established, okay? And then change out the module for what is needed. That's what it's for. Um, I'm good to go to the next one. How about
Yep,
you?
go ahead.
Okay. The galaxy doesn't seem to be well shielded, having just one large shield. How does the ship compensate for that? Meaning, will it be fast or will it be heavily armored? Okay, Joe, you got this. You got the answer on this one. I
Um, this is a part of a longer term relook at how not just shield but all components function across our ships. Expect to see more updates on this in the new year, along with further information on what ships are having alterations to their loadouts to accommodate it. In short, the Galaxy will be well shielded for its size, as the role of size 3 large shields will be significantly different to size 2 medium ones, and a lot of ships will find themselves with either fewer larger items or more than two smaller items to help provide greater gameplay depth. Uh, um, I don't really have too much to say about this because it's another one of those. We'll see how it is, because like they said,
yeah.
this is a whole rework type of thing on shields and how they work, and we don't know how that it is yet, and we don't know if they do yet.
Hmm.
And but I like the fact that it's saying, um, let's see what is. I'm going back and taking a look at it. It says, um, it'll be significantly different to size 2 medium ones, and a lot of ships will find themselves with either fewer larger items or more than two items to help provide greater gameplay depth. So the fact that you can kind of like, with some ships, you can substitute for two smaller ones,
Hmm.
um, or you can have like one larger shield
Yeah.
rather than two smaller ones. I like it. Um,
It gives you
that's
the
nothing new
option.
though.
It gives you
That's
the
nothing
option.
new.
Yeah, but it gives you the option.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like you're gonna be able to do that on the Galaxy. From what the wording is, you're not gonna be able to do that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, we'll see. I don't know if you could trust them when they say it'll be well shielded for its size. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we lost snacks. Okay.
It's
Um,
okay.
what is the next question? What is under the bridge? Okay, it's just cool looking visual design with no intended gameplay functionality. Hey, uh,
That's fine too.
the
I don't
rule
even know
of
what
cool.
they're talking about. I'd have to go back and look at it.
Yeah, but the rule of cool. It's just like a certain spot on the C1. Everybody was saying, "What is this function?" And they said,
Hmm.
"No, it's a rule of cool."
Go back up to the concept image of it. I just want to
Okay.
see. I think it hangs out kind of like the constellation does, doesn't it? It has like the
Uh,
space underneath, like in between it, and the you can't even see
um,
it there.
let me go down to another one. Um, I don't
If it doesn't
think.
show it, that's fine.
Yeah, it doesn't show it here. Um, okay. Can we get an exploration of what the two rooms on the first floor at the very front of the galaxy are? Okay. This is I just feel that this is it's something that they needed to put in the ship to give it like non-wasted space. And here's the answer. On the upper deck, the two front rooms behind the bridge are for the crew lift and docking collar. On the lower deck, the forward room is for components, and the other further rearward is the crew locker suit room for exiting the vehicle via the lifts. Okay, that answers the question.
Mm-hmm.
There's no um, speculation needed on that because they've already answered it.
Yeah,
Uh,
very straightforward.
yeah.
Not really to say about that. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
I think their way of making ships is it's gotten. I mean, everybody can agree it's gotten so much better. Everything's starting to make sense now.
Yeah.
Um, like the rework on the 600i. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the way they've moved stuff around, it makes more sense. They know what's going on.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. But the
good stuff.
600i, when it originally came out, the exploration version and the um, luxury version were so close together until they did the rework of the concept art and made the exploration version what it's supposed to be. And I can't wait for that. That's going to be awesome
Mm-hmm.
because I love the 600i. I that's my one dream exploration ship, and the concept art looks beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be awesome when it comes out. We good to go to next?
Yep.
Okay. Are any of the turrets pilot controlled? If not, does the pilot have any weapons available to use? And question answered. The pilot only has access to the missiles. The turrets are controlled by the crew.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, this is where the Carrick has an issue. There are no missiles on that ship for the for for the pilot to do anything. All all he does is all the pilot does is fly. And you've got your turrets. There is no other access to weapons for the pilot to use.
Hmm.
And to me, at this point, for an exploration ship of that size, it makes sense. I'm going to go to Star Trek. Okay? Star Trek, the helmsman doesn't really has shouldn't have any access to any type of weapons. His job is to fly the ship. There is a tactical officer that does the targeting and the firing of the weapons. So it makes sense. And I know Joe, you say you've never gotten to Star Trek.
No, not really.
So in the Galaxy class and other ships, the helmsman did not have any, the pilot, okay, helmsman pilot did not have any access to the weapons. His main job was to maneuver the ship and keep it from getting damaged if they said move to this vector or move to this, turn starboard, turn port, aft, or forward.
Mm-hmm.
And your tactical officer was the one who did the targeting, the
Yes.
firing, and plotting the targeting solutions. So it makes sense for the pilot to not have any other access to weapons and missiles.
I
Yeah, go.
no, a part of me thinks that the pilot should like the roles should be completely separate, like you say, like how Star Trek does it. Um, that's half of me, like because it would make sense when when you're in a tight situation, a
Yeah,
really tense situation.
yeah,
All you want to have to think about is your main role. That's it. You don't want to have to keep juggling side roles to, like as you're flying, you don't want to have to worry about getting into missile mode and setting up your groups, and
agreed.
you shouldn't have to worry about fighting. You should have to worry about positioning your ship to fight so that your other crew can get in there and do what they need to do,
Mm-hmm.
or getting the ship ready to escape.
Yeah,
And
this this
yeah,
is a classic multi crew gameplay. Now, if hmm, missiles, missiles
I
are a
mean,
different thing. Yeah, go ahead.
right now, it doesn't make any sense to have such separate roles like that. Like right now, it makes sense because a lot of people are soloing ships, or they only got like one, and the other seats don't do anything at the
Yeah,
moment.
yeah.
So it would make sense to give most of the controls to the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in the future, I'd like to see all of that change.
Yeah, it's gonna come. It's
Yeah,
gonna
it will.
come. So, okay, I'm gonna go to next question. And okay, refinery. How does the refinery module compare to the Mist Expanse's ability to run 6 separate refining jobs simultaneously? And does the module have any storage for its refined ore on its own? And here's the answer. The Galaxy Refinery module has both storage for raw and refined materials, outside of just saddlebag storage like the Expanse, as well as 2 reactors that are much larger than the Expanses, which is interesting. So, while it can run fewer simultaneous jobs, it can process much larger quantities per job and store them after. Now hmm, that's an interesting aspect. So, what's Joe?
Um,
what's the use of having an expanse?
well, it looks like you know any ship that's good for um one purpose. If a ship has one purpose, or a module has one purpose, looks like they're all going to have their advantages and disadvantages in doing that job.
True.
And I think that's going to make it a lot harder to try to figure out fleets. But um, it kind of it it assists CIG in making it's just another way to um, give ships the so it makes it so not one ship is good at the whole refinery job, so in a fleet you're probably going to need a couple different refinery ships. You're not going to just be good with just picking one. Like a lot of people when they get their fleets together, they typically only pick one of the refinery ships, and they don't really think about um, its specific capabilities too much,
Yeah.
and realizing that there's going to be a lot of situations you're not going to be able to use that specific ship in, so you're going to need two or three different types of refinery ships,
Yeah.
and that in a way that sucks
Yeah.
in thinking about it like that, because um yeah, like I don't know how people are going to crew. It just makes it so they're forcing you to have to expand your fleet, and in that aspect it sucks because realistically you would want minimum amount of ships,
Mm-hmm.
with a minimum amount of crew that you can get away with, because it's just not feasible to need 100 or 200 300 players to be on to crew all these ships at once.
Agreed.
So it's going to be interesting to see how they figure all of that out. They did say NPC like crew sizes are going to be going down significantly, and uh, NPCs are going to be very competent at their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
To what degree we don't know yet,
And
and
then
NPCs actually have to work.
yeah, and then
Um,
you got blades.
and the blade thing, yeah, I forgot about that. Um, So I'm a little weary of seeing this because like my brain starts to get cluttered of like, oh my god, as an org leader, there's gonna be so much you're gonna have to think about,
Mm-hmm.
and it's even when consulting with others, you're gonna get into situations where you're gonna overlook things,
Yeah.
and not everybody's gonna be an expert in all this stuff, so
No.
it'll be interesting.
Yeah. It's gonna be to me, it's gonna be a step by step process to refine how you want to do it, and
Hmm.
it's a trial and error thing.
I'm hoping CIG isn't making things overly complicated,
Yeah.
and that's almost how I feel about when you look at these refinery ships, when you look at the Odyssey, the Expanse, and then you look at the this module for the Galaxy. They all do completely different things when it comes to refineries, or being a refinery, and um, the more you add
The more
different
complicated it
ships,
gets.
that is going to be a real dilemma on figuring out which ones you're going to need, because they're so different, to the fact where you're gonna have a hard time figuring out which one to pick, because they're all very limited in what they can do still.
Yeah.
And I think that's what sucks, is that they're all so very limited
Yeah.
by their capabilities. But anyways, I'll
Yeah.
stop talking about that.
Yeah. But it's a very valid point, and I'm glad somebody put this question in there because the Expanse is a ship that's in the pipeline. So yeah, it's an interesting it's an interesting aspect to look at. But
Yep.
on to the next question. Um,
Hmm.
can the Galaxy refuel its quantum tank somehow from the refined quantum that it has created in the refinery module? And this is a very good question. And there, the answer is there is no direct connection to the quantum tanks from the refineries, unlike the Odyssey. So any refined quantanium by the RSI Galaxy is for sale, trade, rather than automatic refueling of its own tanks. So
It-
that answers the big question right there.
I don't. So the one issue I have with this, and I talked about this in the Discord chat earlier.
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't understand why um, the refinery ships or modules. I don't know why they all can't um, don't have the ability to refuel themselves. That should be a standard. I feel like for all of
Yes.
them, because
Yes.
it doesn't make any sense. Because when you think about it, the whole process now of your
Mm-hmm.
fleet, if you have the Galaxy,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna have to, a ship is gonna bring the material, the ore or whatever, to the Galaxy to be refined. It's gonna get refined,
Yeah.
and then your Galaxy is gonna need to get refueled.
Yeah.
But you can't refuel yourself, so you're gonna have to
Go
sell, sell the refined stuff to
buy
a
it back.
starfarer.
To buy
To
it back.
from within your fleet, and then that starfarer, after buying it from the Galaxy, you're gonna have to sell it back
To
to the
yourself.
Galaxy.
Yeah.
That is an unnecessary process.
I
It says
agree.
trade. It says trade too. So I don't. I don't know. I don't know what that. I don't know what that mean.
Yeah,
But
but
you need to be able to just hand it off without any sales. You know.
I okay. Excuse me. We know that the civilian starfarer can refuel its hydrogen tanks through the front filter of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
So why can't the Galaxy, okay, with refined quantanium, siphon off some of the quantum fuel from what has been refined? It should
Mm-hmm.
have that option.
Yes.
Okay, if it's tanked off, where it's totally full, then there's no need. But when you get quantanium coming from a prospector or whatever, you know, and you're say at 25%, and you're out there, and and you may not make it back to a station. You should have the option to siphon off what is there so you can make it back home.
Yeah.
That's just
Because there's definitely going to be times where in a fleet, the Galaxy is the kind of ship that would kind of go off on its own. I feel like,
yeah,
it would break off from the fleet, do what it's got to do. But if it gets into a situation where it has to, somehow, like, you got to, it's going to be a weird situation where you have a refinery on board,
yeah,
and you're going to have the capability to actually, let's say you actually have the capability to go out and find the resources to get refined, and then within the Galaxy. But then it's like it's a situation of being in the middle of the ocean with water to drink.
yeah,
It's that kind of thing, and it's really, that's a frustrating situation, and I feel like that's going to be a situation that's going to be common.
yeah. Unless they have a starfare that's going to come out within the org's fleet, a starfare that's going to come out,
Yeah.
refuel that ship so it can keep going.
Hmm.
I mean, if you don't have a starfare, you're
Yeah.
gonna you're
Not
yeah,
not all fleets are going to be perfect. You're going
right,
to be building up your fleet. You know, you're going to be grinding up your fleet to, so essentially you're going to prioritize which ships you get,
mm-hmm.
and um, yeah, you're not going to have everything you need at first.
Yeah.
So you're going to need the ships that can do a couple different things, you know.
Yeah. I
But
mean, look at it like this. When 318 comes, okay, I know I'm going to have a reclaimer, okay? But if that ship stays out for a long period of time, okay, that ship is going to need refueling at some point. So I will have a Starfarer on standby to go out and refuel a ship that needs it.
mhm.
So this is where you've got to, and Mike, our logistics king, would be perfect for this. You know how he is. You know he's say,
Mhm.
okay, I'm the we're logistics. We'll come
Mhm.
out and refuel you. You know, this is where this comes into play. You're going to have a refueling ship at some point to take care take care of what your fleet is out there.
I, I think another thing that this kind of proves is that we need more refinery ships, refining ships, to fill the gaps that are missing right now. Because right now there's a lot of gaps that need to be filled, and it's
Hmm.
not just refinery; it's
Yeah,
all the other ships too. That there's so much, uh, so many gaps that need to be filled in every aspect of the ships for the most part. And
yeah.
yeah, refinery, we need something, um, because in this situation that we were talking about, it's like, are we really gonna just use Odysseys? Because that's what you know,
Right,
because
right.
that would be your exploration ship because it can go out and you wouldn't be using a galaxy if you thought that you were going to be in a situation um, where might run out of
Plenty.
fuel and not
Yeah.
have a way of refueling yourself. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
you would have to use an Odyssey.
Yeah. I got to step away for a sec. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay. Uh Next question. Okay, the Galaxy promotion website states, quote, an afterdeck that serves as a dedicated hangar or sizable cargo hold. Okay. Does this mean that the entire afterdeck area is a cargo grid of 64 SCU or just the sides of it? We talked about this last night. Can we only transport either 64 SCU or an XXS ship in the afterdeck, or can we transport both at the same time? And remember, we were talking about this last night, that we had to go into the specs to look at the schematic
Mhm.
of the Galaxy. Answer.
Yeah, we were talking about the base version that doesn't have the module in it. Yeah.
Right. Okay. The 64 SCU cargo grids are 2 times 32 grid spaced at the edge of the hangar and do not interfere with the hangar metrics. And that's what we said, that there's 2 side rooms
Yeah.
that hold the cargo, uh,
Yep.
allowing both an XXS ship and 64 SCU to be stowed simultaneously.
Also known as tiny ship. When I
Yes,
say tiny ship.
which is your Pisces, your M50, your
Snub ships.
Razor, Krugers, and that's pretty much it.
MPVs.
Yeah, MPUVs. That's pretty much it. Um,
Yeah.
that answers the question.
Yep. Completely straightforward.
Okay. Okay. Can the cargo module be used as an improvised hangar? And can one use tractor beams to pull the Tumbril Nova or Atlas platform vehicles into the cargo module? Okay.
This one I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah. This is a
Says
good question.
if you can fit the vehicle either through the door to the hangar or up to the lift, then it is perfectly possible, but not intended. The cargo lift is capable of loading 232 SCU containers at a time, so vehicles up to and including the RSI will comfortably fit. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Good.
I think
Being
that's
able
going to be
to
awesome.
use it for what it's not supposed to,
Yeah.
I'm always the way it's not intended. I'm always down for that.
Yeah. Because, okay, with this, that gives you the option to put the STV, the PTV, Dragonflies, the Apollo Knox, and those types of vehicles in that area, you know, so you can have more vehicles. It becomes more of a vehicle transport than just cargo,
Mhm.
which is cool.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Okay, gives a little how can you say?
A little more functionality.
Yes.
That a little extra things that you got to think about when you look at a ship design and you're thinking about whether you should get it for your fleet. Definitely think about the unintended roles it could play and look at the layout and see if that. I mean, that's what the does it fit videos, why they're out there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Okay. We good to go to the next one.
Yep.
Okay. What can you tell us about the Galaxy's maneuverability or speed capabilities compared to the Carrack and Constellation? I,
This one too.
I say that it's okay. This ship was designed around the Constellation's
It's a lot bigger, though.
superstructure. Yeah, it's a lot bigger, so it's going to maneuver slower than the Constellation.
It's more the size of a Carrack.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember exactly the lengths of both of them, but it's more closer to a Carrack, so it makes sense that it would maneuver more like a Carrack,
Yeah.
regardless of what it looks like.
Right.
Just because it looks like a Constellation doesn't mean it should fly like one.
Right. And with the Constellation, you got to remember, the mass on the Constellation is going to be a hell of a lot smaller than the Galaxy because of the body styling. This is this ship is expanded out from the Constellation's body, from its superstructure, so it's got more weight. So it's gonna maneuver slower, and the speed capabilities are going to be reduced um, unless it has a larger engine to surpass what the Constellation has. If
Something I
I'm,
am wondering.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Now, I mean, if you think about it, it's got to have more powerful engines to move that mass. So,
Something I was wondering is because not all the different modules are going to have different weights to them.
yes.
So like I would think maybe the cargo module with all of its cargo in there might be a little bit heavier than maybe like the medical module.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm wondering if
Well,
that would be each of the modules would be a significant change in weight, so to where maybe it um, changes a little bit of the maneuverability, but I don't know.
I well,
Probably not.
but you got to think your equipment that's going to be in the refinery is going to be heavier than your equipment that's going to be in the cargo and the med module. If you get what I'm saying, that's more
Mm-hmm.
weight. So it's going to affect how the ship maneuvers because that's more weight to what is already on the superstructure compared to medical beds and an empty cargo area.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's going to make a difference. Um, you good for the next
Yep.
one? Okay. Does the hangar have refuel and repair capabilities? The Galaxy has no inbuilt systems to refuel or repair, so would rely on players to bring the tools and equipment to do so. I like this. I like this aspect. Um,
I'm neutral about it. I think it's fine.
well, to repair your ship,
Yeah, to repair. Yeah, the refuel no, I don't agree with that. But the
the
repair, yeah.
the refuel you should be
And
able to siphon off of what the ship has for a small snub ship. I mean
mm-hmm.
that's that doesn't make any sense to me. It should not uh, have to rely on going out, getting fuel, and coming back.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. But the repair capabilities, you should have repair supplies on the ship to repair your snub ship.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. But the refuel, I don't agree with that at all.
We'll have to see. They got the other modules that are coming out for it. We don't
Mm-hmm.
know what the modules are going to be, but
Well,
I think it'd be kind of cool to have, like you were saying, if you had the ability to have or to repair like snub ships or something. But if
yeah,
you had like a repair module, you would be able to do that. But
yeah.
obviously, I don't think it would make sense if you had the repair module to be able to repair your own ship, unless you had to EVA out and do it or something.
Well, that's where your manufacturing module would come in to manufacture things to say you have an issue that needs to be repaired, and you do have the resources on the ship to do it, but you have to manufacture it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where your manufacturing module come in, where it would be self-sustaining, but then you have other issues to where how can you refuel the ship? How can you do You know,
Mm. Yeah.
there's if, ands, or buts about it's got its pros and cons.
Very complicated.
Yeah. Um, next question. What size ships can fit in the Galaxy's rear hangar? Okay, this was it was already discussed, but for clarification, this this is a good question. Uh, for example, will a MISC prospector fit there? Does the rear hangar have a ramp lift for ground vehicles, or can ground vehicles only be used with module lifts? Okay, here's the answer. The rear hangar is a XXS hangar, and as such is not capable of fitting a MISC prospector. However, the refinery module is fully compatible with the prospector and Argo Mole's cargo saddlebags, so they can
Mm-hmm.
still offload their materials to be refined.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. The rear hangar does not have a ramp, as a ramp at the required angle would extend the ship's footprint beyond its designed hangar metrics, denying it the use of certain landing pads and facilities. Another lift at the rear would have minimal clearance for loading compared to the central module lifts. Therefore, only the central area is compatible with ground vehicles by design. And to be fair, let's scroll back up for a second at this screenshot. Okay, you got a Pisces coming out of there.
Mm-hmm.
If you had a ramp that went down, okay, while you're in a hangar,
Mm-hmm.
it's not designed for that. Um, it would extend the footprint, yes, but in certain hangars, if this ship goes into a certain hangar, it would have an issue because you couldn't maneuver the vehicle onto the ramp to get it inside.
Um,
It depends.
I think this is where CIG they need to like make sure you're not going into a small hangar that's not really designed for a ship like this. They need to give you like hangar priorities based on,
The s-
like hangar priorities based on the class of ship that you have and its sizes.
yeah.
Completely matched with appropriate sizes. Right now
Well,
we don't have that.
yeah.
You can park your Pisces in a capital sized hangar.
Yes.
You know, That's just not needed. You're taking up a whole capital sized hangar. Someone with a 890 jump coming in might need that.
Right. Or a
So,
Carrick. Or a Carrick.
I mean, I don't see this being an issue in the future. So,
Yeah.
I think in the future you're going to have a hangar where you can have the ship in there and you're going to be able to have, you know, spawn your Pisces in there and then be able to spawn your ground vehicles and drive them up and be fine.
Yeah.
Have enough clearance.
Yeah. But it does state that the module lifts will take care of this. And to try, here it is
Mm-hmm.
again. Uh, to try and clear up some of the confusion that exists with hanger sizing, we have XXS, XS, S, M, and L, and
And
extra large hanger metrics, sometimes referred to as size 1/6 after the fallback of the XML value. A ship must fit entirely within one of the sizes to spawn. However, we do not have all hangar sizes at all locations. Okay. For example, the smallest hangar at most space stations and landing zones is S. So any XXS
Yeah.
ship, or XS ship spawns there instead. Landing pads at places like Port Olisar and planetary outposts go down to XXS. Examples of the ships that fit in the XXS metric are the Anvil Pisces, Argo MPUV, Misk Razor, Origin 85X, and the Origin M50. There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It answers the question. So we know certain ships can fit in a ship. Period.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. There's no reason to even go any higher than that. You know, um, the prospector and the mole, they're there to drop their stuff off, get a new bag, and go on about their business. Simple.
Yep.
Alrighty. And we're at the disclaimer. And that's it. I I'm glad they did this because it needed to be done because there was so much controversy about the ship. Um, but from what I see, there's certain things that do need clarification on some of the features of the ship, and it's going to come in time. So basically, we just have to let them do their thing and go from there. Um, I'm all good. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty good. I wish they would have gone through some questions about a couple questions about each hanger, or not hanger, each
Module.
module, different types of module, because they left a couple out.
Yeah.
Or they left the medical module out.
Mm-hmm.
But because I still think there's questions that need to be asked about that. And then yeah, I don't know. I feel like these Q and A's are a little bit short. I don't. I feel like they don't answer enough. I feel like they could put in a lot more in there.
Yeah, they could elaborate more.
But at the same time, I know they gotta like proofread their answers and make sure they don't double check, and people need to be reading all this and approving the answers to be put out
Mm-hmm.
to protect themselves. So it might take a long time
Yeah.
to formulate the Q and A's, because yeah. How long ago did they post the Q and A initially for
The,
people to actually come out and put it in there?
the
Didn't it take
questions
a couple?
last
Yeah,
week. Last week.
yeah. See, that was a long time in between
Yeah.
it being put out. So yeah, um, I I I I'm not really too interested personally in the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when the reason why I am interested in it at the same time is because it's looking like it's going to be the ship that kind of defines how modularity is going to go. So I'm closely following it, and I was hoping there was going to be more questions also, just in modularity in general.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted more answered about that too. But I think in these Q and A's, no one's ever really fully satisfied at the end of them. I think there's always going to be more questions that people want answered.
Sure. But I also feel that some of the in-depth questions about the modules were not upvoted enough. And I don't know. I have to look on Spectrum and see. Because sometimes I've noticed that with the Pisces Q and A, the C8R, there were a lot of questions that were downvoted, and some questions that were upvoted that got really in depth, and they were downvoted,
Hmm.
which is
Okay.
interesting to me. But I'm good. I'm good with what they put out so far. Like I
Yeah.
said, time will tell, and more information will come. We just gotta let them reveal what they want to reveal,
Hmm.
and then there, and of course, when they do reveal more, there's going to be more questions asked. So we'll just have to see. But okay, I appreciate you being with me on this, Joe, and thank you
Of course.
again. And this is the end of the review of the Q&A for the RSI Galaxy. Um, I'm going to do some more of these when new ships comes out. New ships come out, and get thoughts and opinions from my mentors and new players, and we'll go from there. So it's Shadow Spectre 11 and Voidwalker Joe. We are calling this stream a close on the RSI Galaxy Q&A. You all have a good day and see you again soon. Thank you.